Hey everyone, and welcome back to Citywide Blackout. The year was 1986, and perhaps unbeknownst at the time, Robert Ellis Orrall and his band thought they were recording their last album together. Fast forward 40 years later, and the boys are back with Wrong Thing, a heartfelt collection of music that has some really powerful connections. In this episode, Robert talks about what it was like being back in the studio after all these years, and we go into the different songs and the stories behind them. Now, over the years, Rob's worked with or shared the stage with some of the legends of the music world, including the one and only Taylor Swift. The two of them worked together many years ago when she was just starting out. We talk about the songs they made and what it's like to hear them on stage. And of course, we talk about what's next, and there's a lot to share. Citywide Blackout starts right now.
Welcome to Citywide Blackout with your hosts, Max Bowen and Curtis Hughes. With years of experience in journalism, music, and entertainment business, they put their knowledge to work, bringing you the best in-depth, fun, and sometimes outrageously bizarre interviews with authors, musicians, and many other creators from around the world. With the right amount of gusto and a few F-bombs thrown in for emphasis, you're sure to have a good time. So put up your feet, grab a beverage, and let's go.
I want to begin by sort of taking a look way back. The year is 1986, and you and your band are recording what you think is going to be your last album. Fast forward to today, a couple months ago, you got this brand new album out, Wrong Thing, via Fixation Records. How did this one come about?
It's interesting you say 1986 last album. It actually it was in the ether for so long. Our last album. We made 3 albums for RCA: 1980, 82, 83. Fixation, Special Pain, and Contain Yourself. And then we lost our deal. We had when we were in RCA, we had 4 different presidents in the 4 years that we were signed to the label, and which is nuts. And every time you have a new president, you have a new bunch of people come in and like try to figure who you are and what you're doing. And that might have kept us there, and because we weren't selling tons of records, but we really felt like our career was like skyrocketing, like it was all kind of a dream for us. We were like, what's happening? Why are we touring with U2? Why are we, opening for the Kinks, or our favorite bands, and all this stuff? And why are we playing in mega like arenas within like 3 years of us starting? And it's because, oh geez, don't ask me why. I still can't figure out to this day, like when someone says, oh, do you have any advice for me? Like how you do this and how you do this? I'm like, I don't know how to do anything except for write songs. And then everything else seems to just kind of fall into place. But there's disappointments, of course. And in 1986, 85, we got dropped from RCA. In 86, we got back together at Downtown Recorders, a studio's no longer in Boston, but it was in Boston. And we made a record to try to shop a record, to try to get a new deal. And nobody was interested. So I moved to Nashville in 1990. After 87, I started going to Nashville a lot because they were writing songs down there. And I spent way longer down there than I thought I would, because I'm from the North Shore and that's where I want to be. But that's where work took me. Now, when I finally did move back home and the band, we just we're friends. So we were like, let's just start playing some music again. And then I said to everybody, hey, does anyone have a good copy of that record we made in 86 that nobody heard? And so last year we just, was it this year, I think, we put it out. We just said, here we go. Let's get a cover. And I really wanted to remix the whole thing because it sounds so like reverby. It's like 1986, like doom, 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 and like big reverbs. But now I'm really happy that we couldn't find the tapes. The studio destroyed all the tapes, I guess, that they had when they closed the studio. And now I'm so happy that we have it as a record of how we sounded in 1986. So my daughter did the cover reluctantly. If you've ever seen the back, the Hilltop Steakhouse is on the back because we passed that place every time we went to the studio. And then once in a while we stayed there and, had dinner. Kansas City, 4. We got 4 for Kansas City. You're too young to know what all about the hilltop, aren't you?
Little bit, little bit. I think 86. I was just like 6 years old.
All right. Well, unless your parents took you to the hilltop for, a lobster pie, you wouldn't know.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I've been listening to the new album, Robert. I gotta say, man, this is an amazing, amazing creation. Like Crazier has me so hooked. I've run through that song like 6 times now. Beautiful
Thank
song.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I wrote that song with a teenager named Taylor Swift. I think she was 13. She might have been 14 by then. We've been writing for a couple of years, but it was the centerpiece of the Hannah Montana movie, and it was a big score for me because Taylor, when we finished it, she didn't really like it that much. I mean, because it was really country and twin fiddles and all this, and but then Disney called and said, "Hey, we need a waltz for everyone to fall in love to in the arc of the movie, and we want you to perform it on stage." And she had that sitting in her pocket, so she sent it out, and like the next day, they were like, "Done." And so it was re-recorded by Nathan Chapman, did a beautiful job with it, and she sang it in the movie. So I don't think about that song a lot, but during the Eras tour, towards the end, she was in Edinburgh, Scotland. All of a sudden, one night, my phone started blowing up. Younger people, mostly friends of my kids who are, in their 30s. And they're like, your song's blowing up on TikTok. And I'm like, what? They're like, you got to check it out. And I'm like, I don't have TikTok on my phone, and I really don't want it on my phone, but I'll download it and see what's going on. So what was going on was hundreds of people that were in the stadium in Edinburgh, Scotland, were posting her singing this song that we wrote when she was a teenager. And the audience was like, and she introduced it saying, "You probably won't know the words to this," or something. And then the audience is like, all singing along, and brought tears to my eyes. I was like, this is so amazing to me. And it's really late at night. I stayed up till like 2 a.m. Thanking people. So now I'm on TikTok for the first time, and I'm just like, thank you for posting this video. This like means a lot to me. I wrote this one with Taylor when she was a kid. Later on, someone suggested, actually it was on a podcast. It was a podcast about songwriting, beautiful podcast about songwriting. The woman that taught the course at Berklee School of Music, it was called Songwriting Taylor's Version. She said, "Oh, you should do it with your band and post clips of it, and then all the Swifties will like jump on." And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I hadn't been on what do you call it? TikTok. I hadn't been on TikTok since that night. But I did say to the band, let's like work it up and like do it, like rock it. Let's rock it. We did, and we started playing a little bit live, and then when I started working on this new record in this room, I did a piano vocal of it. And in this room, I took it to the top of my range, and I just, no one was around. I sang it like 30 times. I was having a little bit of whiskey at the time. And I just got crazier and crazier with each one. And crazier. And just really had a ball singing it. And then I sent it to the rest of the band, because that's how we work on that record. I start here, I make something up, or I find, I take a song like Crazier, and I record it piano vocal to, to a little rhythm track. And then I send it to David Stefanelli, my drummer. So the band that I'm with right now is the original four. It's the same four. We made the 3 albums on RCA. So David Stefanelli on drums, and David has a dedicated drum studio. He plays drums for anyone, can hire him to play drums by internet. Just send him the track, and he's got this amazing, and he's got all the best equipment and everything. He sounds great. Then he sends it back to me, and then I take it down to Kook's house, Kook Lowry. Kook Lowry is my guitar player since, again, 1979. And he still lives in Linfield, where he lived when I met him and where I grew up. He puts guitars on. And then Don Walden, who also was in Linfield when we had the band at the beginning, he lives up in Maine now. He comes down here to this little place, puts the bass parts on, and we start building stuff that way, But that was a lot of fun to do. And people really, it's really strong live. People really love it.
How was it to get the band back together after all this time to put out this album?
Yeah, for me, I missed my guys. I mean, we were in a van of, we were in a red van for 5 years. And it wasn't just the four of us. It was actually like five of us, sometimes six, crammed into the van with all our equipment. And we built like bunks and all this. It was crazy. We were always together for 5 years. And then it all fell apart. And then, being a songwriter and not being able to do anything else. I mean, that's just all I can do. I said, well, I got to go someplace where they're writing songs. And I subscribed to Billboard and I looked at all the charts all the time. And I knew that in Nashville, the artist and the songwriter were so often two different names. And I'm like, they record songs in Nashville because, I was only recording my own songs. Most bands record their own songs. They write and they record. Once in a while, Aerosmith might write with Desmond Child. Dude looks like a lady, like an outside writer, and you get a cut. But I didn't know how to weasel my way into any of these things. So I'm like, I need to go where they're writing songs. So I went to Nashville, and my wife didn't want to go. We've been together for 45 years now. We both went to Linfield High School. I said, we're going to go for 5 years. I'll get to know everybody, and then we're coming back. I expected to come back. But then things just took off like crazy, like in a way I could never have dreamed of. And we were there for 32 years. When I did finally come back, because all my kids had moved out of town, they had all bought houses in Nashville. I thought we were all going to stay there. But once they started leaving, we were like, well, what are we doing here? So let's go home. And so we came home. Yeah, within a year, of course, we're going to all hook up and hang out. This guy wants us to do this show. I'm like, I'm not going to learn these. It's just 25 songs I need to relearn. I don't know how to play any of these songs that I played when I was 25 years old. But this guy talked us into it, and we did it. And it was like a 600-seat theater up in near Conway, New Hampshire. And it was sold out. And we were like, and we had a ball. But we were so emotional. We were like over emotional. I think I was crying halfway through the thing. Yeah, then we were like, well, this is fun. Let's do it again. So the next year we did 2 shows. And this year we did 4 shows. And next year we're hoping to do 6, 7, 8. And if I can get out of going to Florida every winter, we can play year round. But back to your question, it felt great to be with these guys that are like 3 brothers of mine. And we just always got along. We never had fights. We just always had a good time. And but everything wasn't always in our control. When you get dropped by a record label, this is back before the days of just putting out your own records, which is what we all do now. You were kind of like, lost. So everybody went on. Kook, David went on to like be an RTZ with Brad Delp and Barry Joe. Kook he was playing, with Peter Wolf, or actually all of them were for a little bit. But he was doing the Hanson Brothers, making all this kind of cool, funny music. Red Peters, I don't know if you remember Red Peters. Mm-hmm. There's a podcast called Window that the next episode is going to be my favorite. I haven't seen it yet, but this guy Red Peters, he's still hanging around. Doug Stevens is his real name. Really funny comedian, music guy. But anyway, so that was what Kook was doing. Don went on to build many, many very large houses. He's still trying to stop doing that. So everybody had a great run, but mine was in Nashville and they were all still up here. So I just felt like I got to come back to my buddies. Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that. I want to talk about the music in Wrong Thing. So we have been talking, of course, about Crazier. One of the vibes I got from this is that there's a lot of emotion in these songs. I think in particular, When I Need to Feel You, that one really got to me because
wow. Well, I'm so happy to hear that you feel that emotion, because that came from a really, really sad place. My cousin Judy, who was also grew up in Linfield, she was married to a wonderful guy. He's still with us, named Willie, and or Bill, but I called him Willie. She died unexpectedly when he was away on a trip. So he got a call, or he called her, like they talked every day, but she wasn't answering the phone. And after 2 days of that, he called and had the police do like a wellness check. because they usually talk twice a day, very much in love. And she had died watching television. There's a cigarette burning out on the ashtray. There's a just opened Natty Light. That's a beer, Natural Light. That was her favorite beer. She was what my mother would call a hot ticket, and she was just so awesome. But anyway, he had to drive back from Florida back to Connecticut, knowing that that's what he was coming home to. And I was in tears. I was talking to him on the phone. I wanted to meet him there, and he's like, "I'll be okay." I said, "Well, what are you going to do, when you get there?" And he said, "Well, I'm going to sit where she was sitting, and there's a blanket that she always wrapped around her, so I'm going to wrap her right around myself." And, it was a really emotional phone call and emotional time, but being a songwriter, that stuck with me. And I ended up writing that song to honor her and him. And so when I need to feel you, yeah, I rap and then I started thinking of all the things that I would do if I lost the one I loved. And that's where the Scrabble tiles and all that stuff comes into it. And of course, the thing that always chokes me up is the voicemails, because I still have voicemails of people that I love that have passed away. They're still on my phone. And I thought I would go back. I would want to be listening. I'd want to listen to her voicemail. So I wrote the song and I sent it to him. And I said, I hope this isn't, I had no idea whether that was a good thing to do. And he really appreciated the song, and then asked me to sing it at her, memorial. And boy, of course I said I would, but I broke down maybe 2 or 3 times during. It's just me and the piano, but I had to keep on restarting or pick up where I left off. So I played it for the band, and they all were like, "Damn." So I was really hoping that we could catch that in the recording of it, because sometimes that you can't. But that's why I really appreciate you picking that song out and hearing what that, yeah, the emotion that song is made of.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually in a similar situation because my mom passed away 9 years ago, and I have her voicemails too. I kept them. I'll keep them forever. And every so often I'll listen to them because I want to remember her voice.
Right.
And like I was I actually lived in her house for a bit after she passed to kind of keep an eye on the place. And same thing, just being in that house was like having that blanket, because everything's got a memory of her.
Right. Oh God, I'm glad it spoke to you.
It really did. Like the first time I heard it, I was just like, whoa. I was driving. I was like, whoa, this is something else. This is something else.
I can't wait to pass that on to the guys.
Yeah, this was a really, really, really powerful song. Do you have a favorite on this album? Anything, like one song that you think like that's my song? That's the one I would tell everyone else. You got to hear one song. It's this one.
That one certainly is for the emotional reasons. I always have trouble picking favorites because first off, I end up forgetting what's on the record. I'm looking around for a copy of it, and that's just the front cover. But I really do love Wrong Thing because of the way that kind of that just happened. That was so. Lots of times I dream songs. And then I'm sort of half awake. I have lucid dreams, so I'm half awake, half asleep. I know I'm in a dream. The transition from being in the dream, dreaming a song, and then getting it onto the little cassette recorder I used to have next to my bed, now iPhone, obviously, without waking my wife, sort of sneaking out. And I do that a lot. And most of the time it's horrible. But this one was like, oh, wow. And I came out here and I just started singing it. And then I immediately put the Pro Tools going and I started getting it down. And by the end of the day, I had it. And then I sent it off to my drummer, to David. I love the way that just happened. And I love what it says, even though I'm not really sure it makes sense. And speaking of not making sense, I also love Where the Gone People Go. That was the first time that the whole band got together and started a song from scratch. And this is the way we did it. So when you watch the Get Back documentary, they're on a schedule. They have to get this done by this. So we all went to Florida, to my house in Florida. We were there not so much to record because most of everything was recorded by then. Most of the record was done. All the drums were done. All the, guitars were done. All my vocals were done. My keyboards and stuff. Our old friend Steve Marcantonio, Grammy Award-winning engineer, we met him in 1980 at the record plant. He was the assistant engineer on our very first album, Fixation. And I said, Steve, you want to come down and hang with us for a week and bring your stuff and we'll finish off all the little bits and pieces, some hand claps, some background vocals, all this. And he came up with the idea that you should on Monday, our first day, you should go, well, we have to write and record a new song that's on this record, and we're all leaving Sunday, so you got to get it done. And so we wrote it out on the back porch. And it's the first time we've always sat in a circle and tried to work out a song. I did scratch out a bunch of nonsense lyrics, which all stuck. I actually have 4 verses that couldn't fit, but just coming up with little nonsense rhymes. If you see the video, which came out just recently, the video on YouTube, you'll see us. We're sitting around the porch. David's playing pots and pans. Kook's got a little, an old my Fender Squire beat up guitar plugged into a little amp. Don's got a bass. I'm playing a tiny little keyboard, but I think it was a Casio. It's a Casio actually. And then we finished it. Then Steve recorded it with a stereo mic, and you'll see Steve sitting at his control panel. He set up a whole studio in the house. We turned the whole house into a studio, and you see him get up and walk down the hall right into the porch where we're singing the song. But then we liked it so much, we were like, we can't just put this. We were going to tack it on the record as just a live thing that we did on the porch. But we liked it too much. So then we came back home and we did what we've been doing. David played the drums in New Hampshire. I went down to Kook's. Don came, played the days. So that was a lot of fun to do. And I guess that's why I just like the fact that sometimes these songs just kind of fall into place without a lot of thought. And then sometimes there's a lot of thought that goes into them. There's achingly long thought. Yeah, I kind of like the story behind those two.
I do too. I like that.
What else is on that record? I wish I had the record because I'm trying to think. I know it just came out, but I'm halfway through writing the next one. So
I was going to ask that actually. Yeah, because is this a one-off for the band? Will you have more albums down the road?
No. So this was done, we used a lot. There was some outside people that helped us with some of the engineering and some of the mixing and stuff. When the movie Freakier Friday came out, I wrote the song Ultimate. That's the end title song of Freaky Friday that Lindsay Lohan sings at the end with her band. Mm-hmm. And so when Freakier Friday came out, I was like, I wonder if they'll. And they did. They were like, call me up. Disney called me and said, hey, we want to use Ultimate again in Freakier Friday. And we can't tell you who's going to do it, but we need you to change some lyrics to fit the plot of the new movie. So they sent me the new movie and I changed some lyrics. And then it turns out that this great band that I was already a fan of, The Beaches, they did the new version that's in Freakier Friday. So I was telling the guys about it at rehearsal, and I was like, you know what? We should do a version. We should do our own version and just put it out as a one-off and release it on the day that Freakier Friday comes out, and maybe someone will pay some attention to us. And so that was the whole point behind it. But we didn't want it to be part of this record because the record was done. But it will be on the record that I'm working on now that will come out in sometime in the summer next year. But it also taught us that we could do things on a dime.
Yeah.
We turned it around in 3 days from the idea to mixed.
Wow.
So, and then a video. And to make the video, which is on YouTube, of course, to make the video, I just went on and I went on YouTube and I wrote Ultimate Freaky Friday. I came up with about 80, 90 videos of people singing it in their kitchen or in their bedroom, or bouncing around, in a band, a wedding band, but all over the last, 15 years or so, right? 20 years, really. And so I took those little clips and then I lip synced it to my vocal, of the song to make the video. So that was like, I said, you know what? We can do the next record completely by ourselves. We'll just do it this way. And
Yeah.
so that's exciting to know that we just like gonna do it. I was at Kook's house last night down in Linfield putting guitars on one of the songs. And I think we got 3 or 4 guitars done so far, and still waiting on Don to come down and put some bass on, but we'll get it done.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. All right. So, Robert, you've had quite a lengthy career. We've talked earlier about working with Taylor Swift. People might have heard of her. She's kind of a big deal these days, fairly well known. I think she got a chance. I think she's going to make it. She got a good thing going here. Working with her on Crazier, and then co-producing her debut album and the follow-up, Beautiful Eyes. What was it like working with her?
Well, it's funny because there's a lot of interest in her early years now because she's the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah.
So I've had authors come to my house here to interview me, for the day or whatever. I'm happy to do it. I love doing it about those times. I had a French documentary crew here last summer. This summer, I had a British documentary crew here, and that documentary just came out on Channel 4 in England, which is like the BBC and then Channel 4. Those are the 2 main things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 2-part documentary. I've seen it. It's only out in Europe right now, but they are shot. They told me I can't show it to anyone because it'll either be on Netflix or Amazon or HBO or something, because they've placed a lot of stuff. This particular British film company has placed a lot of stuff in very high places. So I've been answering these questions, and after I did a couple of things, like the book, another person was writing an article for the Times of London, and I was like, I need to go back and see if I can find cassette tapes of those days that we wrote, those early days. And I hit a treasure trove. I couldn't believe it. They were in a box in my attic, and we have a really well insulated attic, so they didn't get ruined. I found like 8 or 9 tapes because I would put a tape on when we started and just run it, because I was afraid of forgetting. What was that bit again? So I actually found a tape of the very first song we wrote, "I'm Only Me When I'm With You," which is on the debut album. Here's how it went. My friend Angelo Petraglia. Angelo is from this area. He was in a band here called Face to Face. They were on Epic Records. And we've been buddies for a long, long time. He moved to Nashville after I'd moved down. And he visited me and like, I'm coming down here too. And one day we were writing with this kid, and we had a combined age of at least 110 years. We were in our mid 50s. Here comes a 13-year-old, and she comes in, and I said to Angela, listen, it doesn't matter if we write a great song today, but we should have fun, because if we have fun, it will keep writing and keep, writing with someone who has a record deal. And by the way, at the time, a record deal was with RCA till they let her go, which is crazy and amazing. Let's just have fun. So she came in, and right from the get-go, she led the session. She told us she wanted to write a song that was like Avril Lavigne, only country, like with the dun dun, like pogo up and down, dun, dun. And we wrote "I'm Only Me When I'm With You," and I have a tape of it so I can go back and listen to it. And it's really amazing how, she would say, well, what about this? What about this line? Well, one time I did, and she'd be like, I don't know. That sounds a little trite. All right, shot down by the 13-year-old, I said to Angela. Angela, by the way, went on to produce like 5 Kings of Leon records. So he's still going strong.
Yeah, he's doing pretty well for himself, I'd say.
Yes, he is. But she was remarkable. I wrote with a lot of kids. I wrote with a lot of young people. And at the time, I mean, that's a songwriter's job. Like, get me someone that's on the way up. It's going to get a record deal or has a record deal, and they're going to be a lot younger than 55, I'll tell you that. I was used to that. My daughter is exactly the same age as Taylor, and we were kind of writing songs for something. She kind of wanted to be in a band like her older brothers. They had their band, Jeff the Brotherhood, and they were like, I want to make a band. I was like, all right, let's write a song. She's like, well, I don't want to write a song. You just write it. I'll tell you what to write it about. So I was kind of seasoned already for this, for this. but I was still taken aback. Both Angelo and I are both taken aback by how confident she was, how driven she was, how sweet she was and polite, how funny she was, how nerdy she was. She was just a riot. And we had a ball writing these songs, and ended up being able to produce some of them for that debut record. And I mean, I remember when her father came to pick her up. I think that was on the second day we were writing. I think her mom picked her up the first day, but he's her mom's like really like she's not like a stage mom, but he's kind of more like a stage dad. But he was, I mean, at the time he was very like, Rob, what do you think? I mean, she's amazing, right? Amazing. I'm like, I think she's going to sell 3 million of her debut record when it finally comes out. You think so? I think so too. Well, turns out we were off by 7 million. So, it's
Wow,
crazy.
that's right. Oh my God. Yeah. Wow, that's so cool. So, have the two of you ever like reconnected over the years, whether it's like working on projects?
Well, not since the last time I saw her was at Hannah Montana, the movie.
Okay, this is a little while ago.
Premiere. I mean, did I think she was going to be huge? Yeah. Did I think she was going to be on the cover of Time magazine or hosting Saturday Night Live? No. Did I think she'd have the biggest tour in history? Well, it all makes sense now.
Yeah, it's like,
and I was lucky enough on that tour to have her. She performed, different places, different nights. 4 of the songs we wrote together back then. She did Invisible, and she did Invisible at Gillette, and I couldn't get tickets. I was trying to go to that show. couldn't get tickets, but I did see all the clips the next day. It was pouring rain.
oh God.
And she's played that song, and she starts by going, "I wrote this song when I was 13," and I'm like, I know what song's coming.
Yeah.
And then she did A Place in This World, and I'm Only Me When I'm With You, and then Crazier, of course, in Edinburgh. But then what I loved about it was, A Place in This World is like, I'm just a girl trying to find her place in this world. And when the very last night of the Eras tour, she played that song again because she wanted to play it on the very last night.
Mhm.
That just gave me, I mean, I'm just a huge fan. I love her, and
Yeah.
I'm really, really happy for all the time that we did spend together and write the songs that we wrote, and some of the songs that we wrote that no one's ever heard. I mean, one of them is my favorite song we ever wrote. So
what's
hopefully,
that?
maybe someday they'll see the light of day. That song's called Dark Blue Tennessee.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Really cool song.
Someday.
But I mean, the only way anyone can hear it is for me to actually play it for them right in the studio, because I won't digitize it. I won't let it be.
Mhm.
I respect that, it's like, I'm not going to do anything that would upset her. I mean, I'd love for someone to record it, but it's really hard to get a song cut when you really can't send it to anyone.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. Well, maybe someday she'll say, you know what? I think I gotta release Dark Blue Tennessee someday. Maybe we'll see what happens.
From your mouth to God's ears.
There we go.
Yeah.
Now, you've also had the chance to tour with some of the legends of music. Bands like U2, The Kinks. Any particularly like memorable like show stories?
Here's one, and it's not a crazy story. It's really kind of an interesting story. I mean, so there was, as a band that was young in our 20s, and we were coming up and we're trying to make it. And we saw over the period of a couple of years the difference between bands that were huge that were on their way down and bands that were going to be huge on their way up, and the way they treated the opening act. So we were in some high school gymnasium in New Hampshire opening for Molly Hatchet. Wasn't really a good bill to have us on. I mean, we're like a power pop band, and we rocked a bit, but we're opening for Molly Hatchet, and we had sound check after they did, of course, and but they had set up in the gymnasium. They'd set up these long tables, and they were feeding the band and crew. And while we were up trying to do a sound check, they started yelling stuff at us and throwing mashed potatoes at the band. Well, there was it got heavy pretty quick. We still did the show. We walked off, and but we were like, what? I mean, geez, assholes, come on. Then a year later, we're at the Orpheum Theater, the first time we ever opened for U2, and we did 5 shows with them. But the first one was at the Orpheum Theater in Boston. Yeah, and I'm in awe because I love this band. I've got everything on vinyl. You know, I'm buying all the singles imported from England, all this stuff. You know, our dressing room door opens and Bono pokes his head in. Are you all right? You getting everything you need? Are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, oh yeah. Thank you so much. All right, well have a good. And then along the way we met like a lot of artists that were just really, really welcoming. And another one. I'm just thinking, not Robert Plant, but we did meet him a couple of times. We didn't play with him, but he showed up at the studio we recorded in Wales 2 different years and came in and sat in our kitchen and had some tea and, you know, shot the shit with us and stuff. But it was Robert Palmer. Robert Palmer. So he had, if people can Google it, Robert Palmer. I mean, he was a huge artist at the time. And we did a show with him at the Ritz in New York, 2 nights or something. And we opened, and that was a really good pairing. It really went well. And then a year later, he asked us back. And he would have us come to the after party and stuff. There were all kinds of experiences that were, I mean, we as a band were so tight as 4 brothers that we, you know, we'd have a good time, we'd have a bad time. Either way, we're going to either laugh about it or go, it's all right. Don't worry about that, guys. They're not going anywhere.
Oh, I love it. All right. Now, of course, we have to talk about Infinity Cat Recordings, which is your label. You've been running this thing for about 20 years now, give or take. How did this thing get started in the first place?
My sons, Jake and Jamin, they grew up in a house that was paid for by royalties. Everything they owned, everything they ate, the shirt on their back was paid for by royalties. So they grew up understanding that you could create things and then you could actually make a living with your creations. And we took them to see artists, and we went down to Howard Finster, Google it, Howard Finster's, compound down, and let's just see the paintings. He was an amateur painter, but he sold thousands and thousands of paintings and became very, very huge in the art world. And so they just started making up stuff. And Jamin got a drum set when he was like 9, and Jake was playing the guitar. He found my guitar, a guitar in the basement that had 3 strings on it, so he was playing 3 strings. And they started a band. And by the time they were 14 and 12, their first album was getting rave reviews in the Nashville scene, which was the Village Voice owned weekly down there in Nashville. And then we were like, let's start a record label. Like they said to me, Dad, let's start a record label. And I was like, oh, that sounds like fun. We'll do that on the weekends or whatever. And it was fun. It kind of blew up into a wave, well past our expectations. Over 25 years, we released 125 records. Since 2008, almost all vinyl-centric, way before the move to vinyl. There's the logo right there.
I love it. It's on a wine bottle. That is perfect.
Well, this is, we put out wine too.
That's so cool. That is so cool.
I thought it would be like a hobby, but it turned into a thing where let's make a record label and I will follow your lead, I said to my boys. I know how it went for me. Let's see how you would do it. We came up with this record label where they started signing their friends. Everybody had a band. It was kind of like, it was crazy. Everyone started a band and they all wanted to be on Infinity Cat. And so we made a deal where we'll put your record out and then we will split any profit 50-50. Now, that is not a good business model for a record label, but it's a good for the artist, and that's what we were about. So, we put out, like I said, 125 releases. The last release, ICR 125, was a Jeff the Brotherhood 7-inch. That was also the first release on Earthbound Sound, which I wanted to stop doing it because it had been 20-something years. And let's face it, they're out on the road. Jeff the Brotherhood was constantly touring around the country and around the world. They made, I think, 14 albums for Infinity Cat. They're still recording and making music. We just kind of transitioned it over to Jake's label, Earthbound Sound, and they picked it up and ran from there. But it was so much fun, and we kicked off a lot of careers for young people in Nashville, and our contract was a 1-year contract. So if you blew up on our label, then you could go someplace else. And some of them went to Third Man Records, some of them went to, Saddle Creek, or they go to XL, or at least 5 or 6 different labels picked our artists and took them and ran with them, and they had careers on that. And we were just like, great, we'll be able to sell the stuff that we did with them forever, and we're still paying royalties to 48 different artists every year.
Yeah. You mentioned how some of them really blew up. Any examples of folks that who were with Infinity Cat that kind of just went out there and managed to just like make their mark?
Yes. We had a band on the label that they went on to be legends in certainly out of Nashville, but the band's called Diarrhea Planet. Again, Google it. They had 5 guitar players and drums. They had 5 people singing lead at the same time. They, at one time, Pitchfork said they were the best live band in America. Very difficult to sustain a 6-member band without hitting the stratosphere. And they were always an indie band on an indie label. We had a couple labels try to take them away from us, and they, and we would change the terms of the deal, and they got 75% instead of 50% because we didn't want to let them go. And to their credit, they stuck with us right to the end. And they left after they did a theater tour opening for, let me think who it is. It's a British band, huge, dramatic band. And they were blowing them off the stage. So, they didn't bode well for, let me see what that is. Okay. No, there's my boys right there on the cover of the National Scene.
Oh, I love it.
Then we had a guy named Pujol. He went on to Saddle Creek, made like 5 records for Saddle Creek. By the way, Jeff the Brotherhood made 2 records for Third Man in conjunction with Infinity Cat. And they started working with bigger and bigger, like Dan Auerbach from the Black Keys was a huge fan of Jeff the Brotherhood. As a matter of fact, in some interview, he credited them for bringing the Black Keys to Nashville because they really did start the rock scene in Nashville, Jeff the Brotherhood, and by that, partly, Infinity Cat, but it's really all about Jake and Jamin, my sons. Yeah, so Dan Auerbach did a record with them, and then our biggest to this date, there's an artist on our label that outstreams everybody else, and her name is Cake Bake Betty, and you won't know who she is, and I could ask 100 people, but the kids that do know who she is, her record is our #1 streaming record. It's really, really interesting. She made 2 albums for us. Cake Bake Betty. Google that, people. Check it out. Go on to Spotify go on to iTunes and check it out. Or go on to Pandora. Better yet, go on to Tidal. Check it out.
There we go.
They pay the most.
There we go. All right. Now, I imagine that there are a lot of people listening who have a band idea. They're kind of starting out, but they don't know how do they get noticed. How do they get picked up? Any advice for the young artists who are trying to make their mark in the world?
So even today, I answered 3 letters from people wanting to know if we would listen to their demo and blah blah. And I just have a standard answer. Look, we're done. We 25 years, 125 releases. But here's what you should do: start your own label. That's what we did. That's what the kids did. All you need is a name of the label, and you need distribution, which we've always had really good distribution right from the get-go because we got some really good press at the beginning. But now with DistroKid and CD Baby and some of these other sort of distro companies that that you can hire to distribute your stuff, anyone can get their product out there, including, of course, we can all get it on the streamers by doing just that. And you can go on Bandcamp, which I think is amazing. Bandcamp's incredible. And then if you have physical, like you're going to press vinyl, press the vinyl. And then one of these companies like DistroKid, they can get you into the stores. But don't expect a lot. The idea that something's actually going to just blow up is the same as getting struck by lightning or buying the right lottery ticket.
Mm-hmm.
but as my friend who was just visiting me this weekend, who did win the lottery, said, you can't win if you don't play the game. But if you're doing something, if you're true to yourself and doing something that feels true to you and makes you happy, that's half the battle. Because then, I mean, I wouldn't count on it. I certainly didn't. I mean, like I said, I've had an amazing career, way beyond my expectations 100 times, but I didn't expect any of it. But I was always happy and excited when something would happen that would go to the next level. And I always tried to be fair and kind to people and truthful in my music. And I think that's the best advice I can give.
I like that. I really,
By the
really
way,
do.
I hated when people gave me advice like that, because I'm like, no, what's the magic key? What do I do? What's
Right?
the magic thing?
Right? We all want to hear
What's
that.
the password?
Exactly. We all want to know like the step-by-step blueprint, and there isn't
Yeah.
one. Everyone's journey
Yeah.
is different. Everyone's story is different.
So true.
But I think it boils down to you can't win if you don't play. So give it a
Right.
shot, because you never know.
Yep. Absolutely.
Well, Robert, we are coming down to the end of this conversation. I want to say thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, hearing all these cool
It's been
backstage
fun,
stories.
Max. Really. Oh, it's been great.
All right. And for the folks at home, you've heard the whole story. Now, here's what you do. You go to robertellisorrall.com, 2 R's, 2 L's. Get your copy of Wrong Thing. Check it out. Let us know what you like the most. What was your favorite song? And of course, Robert, definitely looking forward to the next time that you and I get to talk.
Absolutely. Let's do it again.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening to this episode. And please subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. It ensures you never miss an episode and helps our ranking, allowing others to discover the podcast more easily.
If you really liked it, please share it with a friend and join our Citywide Blackout Facebook community, along with following us on Instagram at CitywideMax and at Citywide Interviews.
I'm your host, Max Bowen,
And I'm Curtis Hughes.
and we'll see you all next time. Bye!
When I need some conversation, I head out to the filling station, sit out front with John and Mary Jane. And when I need to clear my mind, I sit out on the third base line, catch a sunset AAA ball game. But when I need to feel you, when I need to be near you, I pull that blanket off the shelf and wrap you all around myself. It's the little things that help me make it through. I put on all your favorite songs, I even try to sing along the way we did back then. That's what I do when I need to feel you. When I need to catch a buzz, I do it just like Willie does. Lay out back and watch the planes go by. And when I need a good night out, I catch a lift and head downtown, meet a few old friends and just unwind. But when I need to feel you, when I need to be near you, I take your favorite coffee cup and I fill it halfway up. It's the little things that help me make it through. I spell out words that made you smile with those old wooden scraps.